like I heard a sound. Yeah. Hey, Luke's here.
Hey, you hear me?
Yeah, you figured it out.
I switched to another laptop. It was too daunting to, I don't know. This is a Linux machine, and I didn't know what to do. So, but here I am on the Windows PC. With my,
you saved the show, Luke. Thank you.
Yeah. Can you see me all right? Is the lighting good?
Yeah, it's better than my lighting has been for like the past 4 episodes. I finally figured out how to adjust the contrast on my webcam. Yeah.
Yeah, I got the last sun here in The Hague. I'll show you. It's my
Nice, beautiful. Well, thank you for joining us. So Luke's coming to us all the way from the Netherlands, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And we're going to be talking Kalimbas. Look, I even brought I bought this at a garage sale, but it's the Kalimba of
nice.
in my house. I think these are like little street sweeper tines.
I think the street sweepers are a bit thinner.
Yeah, I've got a separate one. I actually pulled this one out from the street.
Oh, really? Nice.
I thought I'd save it for like a lock pick or something like that. Nice. But now that I've got Kalimba on the brain. I didn't really see
your hands. How big is it?
Let's see. The length is about 10 inches maybe.
Oh, nice. Maybe in America you got a little bit thicker.
Yeah, we've got our American-made street sweepers.
Here in the Netherlands, it's all just the bare minimum.
Well, you have tinier streets, I imagine. Every time I go to Europe, all the adorable small streets that weren't designed around cars, I imagine the street sweepers might be smaller too. Yeah, well, I was so glad to happen upon your Trash Kalimba tutorial, and happy to have you on and have you tell me more about how you started with these. What was yeah, maybe that's the question. How did you start? What inspired you to make your first Kalimba?
My first Kalimba, that's a really tough one. I think I was 16 or something. I think around that age. I began actually making stringed instruments, and then I found, I don't know how, but I found the Kalimba in a secondhand store. I can show it to you actually. It's this one.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's rather beautiful. Yeah, it's very strange. The first one is actually the most beautiful one I ever found. It's very rare to not see like the coconut Kalimba, which they dominate the second-hand stores. Well, Kalimba-wise, then. And I saw the construction. It's so relatively easy. If you see the crossbar, it's just held down with three or four wires. Can you see that?
Yeah. And the rattle pieces on there too, right?
Yeah, and they are made from some type of canned food can. Yeah, and it's I love it. This is one of my favorite instruments. And the Kalimbas, they're so simple, but they make for such great music.
Yeah, I love the sound of them. I was searching for one for years before I came across this guy, and was thinking about making them, but at the times years ago, I just really couldn't find a good guide that was approachable enough that I wanted to do it. I know they're not that hard a project, but I don't know. I didn't really even have a workshop probably to use to make one until just a few years ago. So.
All right.
Yeah. So let's go through the guide. I want to show it off in case people haven't seen it.
Show it off.
Screen share. Here we go. Kalimbas. Now you have an amazing collection. When I'm looking at this collection here, how many years of Kalimba making am I looking at?
Well, I think so. I started at 14, 16, but with very large gaps in between. Sometimes it's like a Kalimba craze going on, and then I make a lot of them. And this is just a very very tiny selection actually of all the Kalimbas that I ever made. But I give so much of them away, so I don't have them all to show you.
And that's kind of cool. And that's when I was thinking about making them, I was also thinking about how if I could get in the practice of making them, they could make cool gifts to give away.
Yeah, they're super cool gifts. Yeah, everybody loves them.
All right, now we're looking at materials here. This is another part I really liked about your guide was you gave a lot of different options of things you could salvage for the tines. The street sweeper metal bits are on the left here, right? Or no, those are rake tines.
Tines.
And I think the first guides I saw used were talking about using rake tines as well. And then the bicycle spokes, which sent me down another rabbit hole of project ideas. So
yes, bicycles.
Thank you for that. And then hacksaw blades is an interesting though dangerous sounding element to use. But I have one that I just got through my hacksaw blade last night and realized I need to replace it. So I might be using one of these too. But how did
the hacksaw blades really work well for the lower notes, for the lower pitches?
Sure, and it really comes down to it being like a hardened steel.
Yes, that's all it really comes down to. And I was actually surprised that of all the years of Kalimba making, that there were some comments on the Instructable that really surprised me of the materials that you could also use. Like there was a user that said you can also use car engine dipsticks, and I found that to be amazing. I'm not an automobile guy. I ride my bicycle, so I don't really know a lot about engine dipsticks, but I looked up one. It's actually really nice material to use for this kind of instrument.
Yeah, you also mentioned like was it? I think it was in this one, the windshield wiper blade material. Like inside of a windshield wiper, there's maybe a metal piece that's like the backbone of the windshield wiper.
Yeah, that's actually also a very nice one. It's a bit thinner. I'm not sure if that changes from brand to brand, but yeah, that's also a really nice one to use.
Now here's a material that I have a lot of in my workshop, which are just like scrap pieces of wood about this length, either like from old furniture or old projects, little cut off pieces that I think are going to be the perfect backboard for a Kalimba.
Yeah, and if I suggest a pro tip, it's like when choosing the backboard, you're actually determining the what you call this, the note length, the sustain of the Kalimba tine.
Sure.
Because the heavier it is, the more resilient it will be to sort of cooperating with the vibration, and therefore it's the same as in guitar building. The more mass your front surface has, the less it wants to sort of vibrate along with the string, and the more sustain you have.
It's a great tip. I hadn't thought about that. and also probably why your Kalimba that you had, the kind of a larger one, it probably resonates better than my little coconut gourd Kalimba.
I'm not sure. The top looked really sort of. I use lots of thin materials as a resonator, but then afterwards that is only after I made a sort of very resilient block. So I sort of make a very small Kalimba first that has no resonator, and then I glue it or screw it onto a resonator.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So just going through some of the other materials here, tools. There's a lot of bending of hardened steel, right? So you're looking at like kind of like a high leverage wrenches or clippers to be able to get that done.
Yeah, you could also do it in the vise, but for me, I didn't come across any hardened steel that was not breaking after lots of wiggling it about in the beaks of one of these.
Yeah. And then your technique uses a couple drilled holes to be able to get through the material, to be able to put the wiring through, right?
Yeah, yes. That's actually because I found this the most easy and the least tool dependent technique. You could even when you're on vacation and you're dumpster diving or whatever takes your fancy to get your materials, you could even sort of find a scrap piece of wood that has already one hole, and then you don't need to have the drill at all, and you can mount the other wires on the side instead of the two holes that I screwed on the sides.
Right. All right. And then in terms of these are the what would you call these? Like the end pieces or the pieces that kind of tune and fit the
Yeah, I'm
times
not
in
sure what
place.
I use what I call them. I think I called
The
middle one
bridge.
the middle crossbar or something.
Yeah, the crossbar, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I lost that one. I wanted to talk about it though, because these are the things that I wonder about with my particular design. You're using fiberglass tent pole is one of
Yes.
these. Some just scrap metal,
Yeah.
kind of angle iron or something, and then even a wooden block
Yeah.
here is sufficient to get it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you don't need much, and it doesn't really depend that much what the material is, as long as it's strong enough to hold all the tines down.
But you have to be able to drill it into or screw it into the backboard, right? Or is it just held with tension?
It's just held with tension only. Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, for this design you don't need screws, and you're just using the holes and the metal wire, but you can also use a different technique that uses screws. But I like this technique very much because it allows you to alter the notes of your kalimba relatively easy, and it's also because it's actually the traditional approach to kalimba making.
So here in this shot, you're kind of just figuring out the lay of where you want to place the elements.
Yeah, I'm just dry fitting and seeing how it all lays out, and then sort of marking where I want the holes to be.
Mm-hmm.
And also see that I used one of the pre-existing holes already.
Right in the middle.
So, yeah, so if you would take the middle crossbar and leave it a bit longer, you can even do this without drilling.
Right. And then you determine your sustain length of backboard.
Yeah.
All right, and then we coming down to so there's 3 holes that use this technique, right? Just
Yes,
to
but
put the wire
if you
through.
would want to make an Ilembe, for example, that's a very large type of lamellophone. If you don't know about it, look it up definitely, because it's rather beautiful.
Uh-huh.
It uses a lot of, it has a lot of tines, and you play only maybe half of it, and the rest is just resonating along like the Indian, what you call it, the sitar.
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot of strings that you don't play, and they're sympathetic strings. They resonate along with all pre-existing vibrations in the body.
I'm gonna have to look it up. You're gonna have to send me a link or something, because it sounds like one I'll have to have some help spelling out. All right, now this is really the core of the Instructable here, is the technique for wiring it all up. And is this just like a armature wire, or what kind of wire would you recommend?
I don't know really.
find some wire that works.
Yeah, just a wire that is, strong enough. Don't use very thin wire, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this was already pretty thin wire. I would recommend more like welding wire, or even you can also use a copper wire.
Mm-hmm.
even when it's still insulated, it doesn't really matter. It ties off really easily
So you're
compared to harder.
Creating a loop of it and then running the crossbar through the loop.
Yeah.
And then using that to pull that into the board.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you take those two wires and on the back you put them in the two outside holes. There's one wire going to one hole and one wire to the other hole, as seen here. And then you're on the top again, and then you wrap them around, and then insert through the hole again.
But not too tightly, right?
Not too tightly. No, you don't want the crossbar to sit directly on the board. You want it a bit, what you call this, prone, or you want it a bit more. Yeah. So you basically take your other crossbar and see if it will fit underneath, and it should barely fit or just not fit.
Right.
And that is because you need this sort of arc of times then pressing everything down.
And then just a few more loops to get it secure.
Yeah.
And then cutting it off.
And then wrapping it up and cutting it off. It's not the most beautiful one I made, but
I like this one. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm getting a little bit of feedback of my voice, I think, through your computer monitor, but maybe not.
Okay if I put it down a bit?
Sure.
Yeah. Better like this?
I think so. Yeah. I don't hear myself. Thank you. Nice. All right. So now we're placing the tines. You're kind of just eyeballing what well, talk to me about how you're thinking this through.
All right. So I'm just pushing all tines underneath the middle crossbar, and then I'm just sort of looking how many I can fit reasonably underneath this crossbar. And here I just took 2 on one side, 3 on the other side. I could maybe manage to get 8 tines on here if they were a bit smaller, but using these hacksaw blades, they eat up quite some space. So I'm just sort of dry fitting how many of these I can use, and then without even looking already at the length of these tines, I'm putting the bridge crossbar underneath, and that already gives some tension to the tines. And then I think the next step is that you sort of, when you add the two crossbars, the bridge one and the tail one, then you can wiggle the tines around, maybe using a hammer if it's really tight, or using pliers to manipulate the tines in the position you want. And then it's of course up to you to tune the instrument. But my preference is that you don't use a guitar tuner. Just pull on the tines, find something that you like, and then afterwards you can always sort of determine what these notes were. But I find that when always using a guitar tuner, you don't really practice your ear in tuning this type of instrument, because it has a strange overtone series. It's not perfect like a very taut string.
And I imagine you're not probably playing this instrument with a band, so you don't have to worry about tuning it to another instrument.
Yeah, but it is possible, of course, if you're playing in a band, that you either tune to those instruments, or you tune those instruments to your kalimba. I mean,
right. But if you find a tuning that just sounds good on its own,
yeah, I find a tuning that sounds. And the funny thing is, when you just fooling around with these lamellophones, these kalimbas, you find tunings that are strange somehow, like Oriental or like tunes that you might never have heard before. And I find that maybe the most satisfying part of kalimba making.
Yeah, that's the experimental instrument aspect of the whole thing. And so then
why make an instrument yourself if it just sounds like every other instrument?
Right.
You know?
Exactly. Now the tune of the tines is defined by that central bar, right?
What do you mean?
Like the tensioning bars that are that you're fitting in the bridge parts aren't really affecting the note or the pitch of the note.
The pitch of the note is determined by the length of the tine, starting from the bridge, so the wood block, starting from the most forward crossbar.
Okay.
Yeah. You could even calculate this if you would know about the properties of the metal and the stiffness and how wide and thin it is. But why bother? Because you can just fiddle around, and you can make rocket science out of anything. But this is just pretty fun doing.
Right. And so here's the collection.
Now, a very small part of the collection.
A small portion of the collection, but man, there's a lot of different techniques here.
Yes.
Here's your toothy
one. So this one is screwed. It uses bolts to hold the teeth down. So the story about this one is, I don't know how I got these teeth. It's like a set of fake teeth to determine the different kind of color teeth have for making like teeth prosthetics. And but they made a very. I saw that they were mounted on spring steel, so my first reaction was, of course, let's make a kalimba out of it.
It's a memorable one. And is it on like a metal, like a notebook?
What?
The backing board.
The backing board? No, it's just a piece of plywood that is being painted black to add to give more attention to the teeth themselves. Yeah.
All right, and then this one, here's one that you use a pickup of some kind, and I see a guitar jack.
Yeah, like these piezo pickups. Here's one. You see that?
Oh, hold on, let me switch over to it. Yes.
So it has a piezoelectric material on one side, and you solder that. So you solder to the copper part and to the piezoelectric part. Copper part is the ground, and the other one is the live wire. And then you just glue it onto the backboard of the kalimba. Add a guitar jack, and you're set to go. And these they can be pretty loud, actually.
Yeah, no, I've done some experiments with making contact microphones like that, and I love the sound you get out of them. Although you can get picky about using like a transformer to get the impedance of it right, so that.
Oh yeah, no, the impedance matching is horrible with these kind of pickups, but you can even do some. So they're more sensitive to the high frequencies, but you can even do some hardware solutions for this already to sort of dampen out the high pitches and give more body to the bass ones. It's like when you build a stringed instrument, I usually put the piezo pickup more towards the bass side, the bass strings. And the same you can do with these kalimbas. You can even put them underneath the crossbar to get really a full power electric kalimba. Then you'll You'll be louder than anyone in the band.
All right, let's take a look at some of these other options. Now here you've got the bottle cap rattles and also like the wrap of like a tin can or some kind of can wrap around it. You've done a lot of, I think they're called snares, right? When you add these elements to it, they're called snares, I believe.
I'm not sure.
And you're also using
I just call them rattles.
Rattles.
That's about it, yeah.
And these are the bike spokes you use down here.
Yes, these are the bike spokes. And you can see that for the tensioning wire, I used MIG wire here. And you were talking about buying a MIG welder or
yeah.
welding gas.
I'll have some of this left over, hopefully.
Yeah, lots of it probably. Now that's actually great wire for binding these Kalimbas.
And this is probably one that used used more than 3 holes to get all that wiring through. If I'm
you can see by the amount of loops that are on the middle crossbar, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 holes drilled.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, what are we looking at here?
So these are I got a welder. and I celebrate it every day almost. So no, that opened up new possibilities for making lamellophones or Kalimbas. So here I made the central crossbar to be adjustable with these wing nuts, and I took various parts of the bicycle to also. You can see like there's a what you call that a gear, half of a gear on the right.
Left. Yeah, up here at the top. Yeah.
Yeah, there it is, and the parts that is inside the gear. Can you point to that? I'll say stop. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
That is where the jack is located, and it's part of the saddle of a bike.
Oh yeah, okay, I can see that. And now you're using guitar pickups on this. Tell me a little bit.
Yeah, and these work great.
Using guitar pickups or the humbucker pickups to do this.
Yes, so the guitar pickups they generate a lot of more bass in your Kalimbas. So if you want to have a low pitched Kalimba and electrify it, you want to use pickups, electromagnetic pickups. And
they're just passive pickups, right? There's no battery you have to use to.
Nope, they're just passive pickups. Yeah. There's on the right Kalimba, there is a potentiometer that sort of lets you choose the input of the 2 pickups. So
up over here? Yeah. Oh, I see. Over on this side, there's the
there.
Pot, and that's the
on the
jack.
right. It has the car jack.
Yeah. All right, here's another one with a guitar pickup, and I like the nail. That's the crossbar piece over here.
Yeah, and it's not even secured. It's just pressed against there.
That's nice. I like that one as a little scrappy Kalimba. More guitar pickups.
Yeah, and these are like the really fat pickups from a bass guitar, I think. And these tines are made from, how is this thing called? Like the chimney sweeper ball that you sort of run down a chimney to clean it of any debris.
Like the tines come from that?
Yeah.
Yeah, is this like bike tube on the top, or?
Yeah, that's a bike tube. Bike tubes are amazing. You can use them for strapping, and they work great. And I always carry a bundle of them in my backpack.
I'm telling you, you inspired me to tear that bike apart, and I've got so many materials now to work.
Yeah, please do. And I'm really in heaven here in the Netherlands because we got ton of bikes.
All right, I'm going to stop my screen sharing here. But those are great. And actually, I should probably pop over to the screen share one other time just to show off your website, but I can probably just mention it. I think it's in the notes for the video here too, because you've got your bike tube gamelan up there. You've got all kinds of really cool instruments that I'm excited to see. Hopefully you get some Instructables up for these other ones too.
Yeah, I'm currently working on 2 other Instructables.
Good.
Yeah, but they're not bike oriented at all.
And then what else would you like to tell people about? Where can people find more of your work or find out more about you?
They can go to my website that you, I think the link is below somewhere. And you can always visit me in the Netherlands, although that might be maybe a bit too far for some of you. And I don't know. I'm really bad at documenting my work, I must say. I think what is out there online is like the top of the iceberg. So, and I don't think that's about to change unless I get magically a manager that says, I'll document everything and, you know, make sure you can live from this.
Yeah, I need that same manager. So let me know how it works out for you. All right. Well, thank you for talking with me. If you want, you can hang out for a little bit. We can answer some questions that people might have in the chat room.
I will.
I'm going to kind of set this as like the stopping point of this particular video, and then we'll talk from here on. All right.
All right. Thanks for having me.
You got it. All right. Questions for Luke. Let's take a look at the chat over here. I'll put it on me while I stare off in the distance. Guitar effects. Have you? Tenacious Key wants to know if you've tried your Kalimbas through different guitar effect pedals, and if maybe there's one in particular that you like that transformed it.
I recently made a fuzz pedal, and that sounds fantastic with these Kalimbas. But an auto wah, like so, an envelope follower works also really well to make a really funky Kalimba.
You need the funky.
Yeah, if you want to funkify it, you can add like this wah effect that is really the bee's knees.
The bee's knees. I was trying to look through my bag of cables. There's a particular like HOSA impedance adapter that I used for my contact mics that worked out really well.
Oh, really?
I can't think of it now, but I'm sure it's in this bag of cables that I keep at my desk here.
I think I found a really nice Instructable once about making like an impedance matching device from some circuitry and a minty tin.
Yeah, it could be I was inspired by the same one. All right, I'm not going to find it, but it's out there. Maybe if I think of it, I can drop it in the show notes in the description down here. If people want to make their own contact mic, I think contact mics are one of those little magical. If you're into sound, playing around with contact mics are a really cool way to explore sound that you couldn't hear otherwise. It's almost like a microscope for sound.
And the thing is with these contact mics is when you think something would sound great with a contact mic, it doesn't, and vice versa. Like this is just a horrible sound, and then with a contact mic, it just livens up completely.
Right. I remember one of my favorite examples of that is the blaster sound from Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
Is actually like it's a guy wire from like a telephone pole with a contact mic on it and he's hitting with a hammer.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Cool. Well, what else are you working on aside from documenting your projects and getting your manager, your hypothetical manager, to come in and what are you excited about right now?
I'm trying to make an Instructable documenting my electric Loek. So my name is Loek, and I made an electric Loek for my girlfriend. and it's basically a little box with a string attached, and when you pull the string, it says "You're right."
It's a good one to have for your girlfriend.
Yes, and you can use it. You can also program it to say different things, like, I don't know, like honey doodle pie, or it's basically when you need to do something a lot, like very often have to say "you're right," then I think you should automate it. So that was sort of the idea.
A good piece of relationship automation.
Yeah, she loves it.
Good. One of the comments in the chat here from the amazing Josh Tolberg, maker of mini boats here in the Bay Area, which you should also import to the Netherlands. His one-seater mini boats.
What?
He makes, this guy Josh Tolberg. I'll give a shout out. Rapidwhale.com, I think, is his site, and he's in the chat room, or at least was. He makes these laser cut one-seat mini boats that you can
really. Oh, nice.
You guys need a fleet of them to go with your bikes out there.
Cool.
He's asking if there's any demos you can do. Do you have any other Kalimbas available to?
Oh yeah.
To play around with?
I got this one. So I used a new material for this one. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Still? All right. So I used piano wire. So these are piano wires from an old piano. And I mounted them first to a block of wood that is maybe a bit too light for having really large sustained notes. And then I mounted it inside a drawer, as you can see. So if I make a lid one time, I can also close it down, and it looks like a pill bug.
Yeah, it looks like a dead bug.
Yeah, it looks like a dead bug, and it sounds very strange. I hope the mic picks this up, because it's very in the low frequencies, but I'll try it. Yeah. Did you hear any of that?
Yeah, I love it. I love how some of the notes sustain and some of them just thud. You know,
Yeah.
A mix of different types of timbers in there.
Yeah, and it's also very strange, like because they're all crooked. It depends a bit where you pluck the tine, how it sounds like. So I can do like this, or so it's a bit. There's still a bit of playroom to. Yeah.
You got to develop your technique. It's an instrument. It's an instrument that requires you to develop your own technique for it.
Yes. Another demo. I don't know. Yeah, I just like this one a lot. I didn't make it though, but it's fantastic. I like the rattle of these Kalimbas. It's really something fascinating. It's also a bit like the fruit durian. Some people really like it, and some people really hate it. And that seems to be the case with this rattle as well. Like I've known some people. They were from Africa originally, and they really hated the rattle. And I also know some people that lived in Indonesia, and they really hate the sound of a gamelan. So that's really strange to me.
Yeah, I mean, I have to admit, I could be convinced otherwise, but I like the rattleless Kalimbas a little more because they're a little bit more bell-like. Like the tone is.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I haven't played around with a lot that have rattles on them, so I could be.
Okay, let me convince you. You can. Okay. The weight of your rattle determines a lot about the sound quality that it makes. So for with very light rattles, like very tiny rings, you get a sort of sandy flavor, and with very more heavy rattles, like the bottle caps, you get it's more harsh and more direct. And I really like the sandy kind of, like the pop cans when you cut them and then make little rolls out of them. So not not this one because this can is a bit too thick, too heavy. But like this is not sponsored. Like this is a cola bottle. Then you would get like a sort of sandy kind of quality.
Yeah. Well, if nothing else, I like that it gives me another thing to collect and be a hoarder of. I've got a reason for my bottle cap collection now. It's for my Kalimba tool.
Great. Yeah, great.
And now, instruments in general are something that you really enjoy making or have enjoyed making. I see a lot of them on your site. Is there a community around you that really is about instrument making, or is that just something that speaks to you?
No, not at all. Quite the contrary, actually. I had some instruments made. I made some instruments specifically because nobody wanted to play with me. So I made a acoustic bass that I could play with my feet. So it's made of piano parts, and I sort of made very large levers that I could stomp on with my feet, and then it has 8 notes. So complete set of white keys to accommodate me with my guitar playing.
That's a lovely but lonely sentiment, but I'm glad to get the solution for it.
I don't know. I didn't have to share the money with anybody. Yeah. That's also.
Well, it's better than me. I remember I grew up in the Bay Area playing in bands and garage bands, and always had people to play with. And then when I went away for college, I didn't have anyone to play with. But instead of making my own instruments, I got into electronic music, which was great. But now I've kind of come full circle, and I play with my friends again, and I have people to play with. So, but I can relate, though. I definitely have enough weird electronic instruments around here from that era. And a lot of these posters are from that era too.
With that instrument to the band meeting, and then they'll just say, "Get out of here!
Right?
Go buy us a beer."
No one wants to tune into your Kalimba. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Or they want to practice a song, and then after maybe 3 minutes, they decide to practice another song, and you're sitting there with your calipers and trying to manipulate the times to fit for the next. No, that's horrible.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, hey, Luke, I think this was a great talk. This is going to be a great video for me, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me about it. I'm even more inspired now to get all my scrap wood and materials together to make at least one Kalimba, maybe an extra one as a gift.
All right, and show it on Instructables, please.
I should, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for talking to me, Luke, and I'll make sure that if there's any extra links you want me to include in the video description, just send them to me. All right?
No, just my website would be splendid.
Okay, you got it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.